I'm William Andreessen, host of Speaking with Students, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows in the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Ninth Grade Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Stuchko. Ninth grade can be challenging. Let's experience it together. And we're excited to be bringing you some more full episodes here as we move into the summer months. And this one is a really good one, highlighting one of our district champions here at Emmaus High School. So Chris Stone, freshman tennis player, came from the second seed on his own team to win the District 11 Boys Singles Tennis Championship this year. So it was really exciting to catch up with him and talk about his accomplishments this year, his competition with his own brother, who was the number one singles player on his team, and what the state experience did and meant for him as he went through the season, and talked about, adjusting to the team and adjusting to the school. So we're really excited to share this episode featuring Chris and his accomplishments this year. So as always, you can go back and take a look at our previous episodes of the Ninth Grade Experience by going to ninthgradeexperience.com. You can search for any different topic that we have, whether it's athletics, academics, daily life of high school students as well too. So we're excited to bring you some of these during the summer here to be able to get us ready for the upcoming school year. I know we're just kind of ending this one previously, but we're going to keep producing episodes in the summer now that we have some time back to do all that. So again, ninthgradeexperience.com for previous episodes. And we're excited to share this conversation with District 11 Boys Singles Champion, Chris Stone. Today we have an interesting guest with us. We have a district champion, freshman district champion in tennis. It's the first time Emmaus has had one, a freshman win the district championship since 2018. So it's a unique opportunity here to talk to a student athlete that kind of excelled this year in the freshman year, and especially in an individual sport, which a lot of times we don't get freshmen that excel in the individual sport. So we're talking today with Chris Stone. So Chris, thanks a lot for taking some time out to join us.
Yeah, of course.
So you've had a really interesting ninth grade year, and we're doing this interview basically at the end of May, early June. So why don't you tell us, and we ask every guest this, their first question, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your ninth grade experience?
Well, going into ninth grade, I'm super lucky. I have a brother who's a junior, so I was kind of already familiar with the school coming into it, and he kind of explained me the rundown, how classes worked, what I should expect, and just to feel comfortable. It's very similar to like any other year, just like middle school, so I wasn't really nervous. Things were difficult to get adjusted to, workload, and kind of even just the size of the school, and proportionally it's so much bigger than middle schools and all the elementary schools, so just kind of getting used to it. But after a while it feels good. Now I just can't imagine not being here.
Yep, and you've had the entire year to get yourself kind of acclimated to it. Your sport that you play, tennis, is in the spring, so you didn't have to do that right away.
Yeah. So
it's kind of nice. You had a little bit of lead-in time leading up to it. You don't play any other sports, right?
No, I don't.
So you had some lead-in time up to your sport, and then tennis starts. And tennis is people that might not be aware, tennis is like a super fast season.
Yeah.
Like they do the tryouts or in the first day of tryouts, and then it feels like the very next day there are matches.
Yeah,
but it's like the next
much.
week is basically when the matches start, and they run through a season pretty quickly. So going into the season, you're coming in, and people, my son plays tennis, as you remember from different episodes from last year, and he had heard about you and heard about you coming onto the team. So when you were getting ready to become a member of the team, what were you thinking coming into the season?
So I was a little bit nervous. Obviously, we had a really tough first match, and I even knew going into season that we would play the first seed's Liberty, the first match of the season. So I was a little bit nervous, but me and Nick, we play a bunch of tournaments, so we kind of are familiar with all the good players in the district and who would face, so that kind of felt good. But I just knew I just had to kind of start strong, just play consistent, play how I know.
So as a freshman, you came in and you played second singles. So the way that tennis kind of works is there are 3 singles players, and then there are 3 teams of doubles, and then if there's a tie at the end of the matches, then usually the first and second singles players play together. So you came in and you were the second singles player. Was that from the very beginning of the season?
Yeah.
So you came in and like that's pretty high up for a freshman to come in. So was there a lot of pressure on that, like anticipation of coming in and having to play at such a high level right away?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like my brother played second, I think, his freshman year also, and he always told me like it's difficult and the team kind of relies on you when you're that high position. Like if you're a good player on the team, you're playing second, you should get the wins for the team. And I knew as a freshman, like I couldn't really let the team down, and I just like had to show them how I could play and just against every opponent just play confident.
So you talked about Nick. So Nick was there. Like, did you feel a sense of like, obviously he was the number 1 seed, you were the number 2 seed. Did you feel that sense of competition like even early on? Like, were you kind of telling him like I was coming for your spot, or like what was it like being with your brother and like kind of having those 2 top seeds?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a sense of competition between us for like everything, even for like any sport that we play, there's always competition. But I kind of knew like freshman year I should settle at second singles. Like it would help me get more comfortable throughout the season, pick up some more wins than I might have playing first singles. And I kind of just had to tone down that sense of competition between us like into the season, because I knew we would be playing doubles, and like in doubles we can't really have that competition between us. So
you only really had to play doubles when the match was tied at the end. So how many times did you actually play doubles with him in the season this year? I don't remember a whole lot.
I think so we played doubles against Nazareth, but that sort of count, like we finished our doubles match and we ended up winning. Like so we went regular season, I think we ended up playing a total of 4 doubles matches, and we went undefeated regular season playing doubles, and we beat Nazareth. But Nazareth, we also clutched our 4th doubles position, so we didn't really have to play doubles.
Yeah, you were kind of just playing.
Yeah, we kind of just to make sure. And I think we played doubles also against. Oh, now I can't remember. Actually, I think we might have played only 3 times, now that I think of it.
So not that much during the season, just because the way that the season worked out for the team was that you guys did really well. Like you talked about the getting out of the jump against Liberty, which is, they won the EPC and they won the district championship as well too for the team. And I think everyone kind of knew that was going to be a tough start. But then after that, you ripped off. I don't even know. It was a lot of wins, and you played really well as a team. So here you are. You're coming up to as a freshman, starting off, and there's a lot of success going on. So what was it like as the season was building? Like, were you getting that sense of like, wow, this is like, we have a chance to really do something here that, wasn't something that Emmaus normally did? Yeah,
definitely. I feel like it really felt like a reality. I think when we hit when we were 10-1 after our 11th match in the season, like coach kind of told us that we were second best team in the district, and like we really have a shot this season. And even just picking up so many wins after such a long time, I think we only picked up 1 loss in the regular season that sort of counted, because our other loss was against a 2A team, so I guess that doesn't really count towards the EPC. But I mean, it felt really good. We had a great season. We kept racking up wins, so that brought our whole team confidence up.
So you come in as a freshman. People are expecting a lot from you, right? So you're the second single. So what is that like? I know tennis is, you played singles, so it's just kind of you out there. So what is going through your mind as you've played tennis probably since, how long have you played tennis?
I've probably been playing for around 9 years now.
So 9 years. So this isn't new to you, playing at a high level of tennis, and you've probably played in tournaments that are pretty high level as well too. But you're playing for the team. You're kind of in this spot. So what is it like? Just describe it to the people that are listening or watching. What is that feeling like when you know that it's just kind of you out there, and especially as a freshman with all the expectations coming on you? What was that like going against some of the higher level teams that you guys played against?
Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, everyone says tennis is a super lonely sport, because on court, if you're playing bad, it's just you in your own head and you're just talking to yourself, kind of even beating yourself down when you're playing bad. So I mean, for me, it was just the whole team motivating me, trying to keep me confident throughout the season, and just knowing that every match counts and that I have to win for them. I think that helped me a lot, even during high stress situations against really good teams. So I mean, the team is like what really matters, and same with the coach.
Yeah, and that's, it's one of the things about like high school tennis is like it is a team sport as well. Like when you go into tournaments or like the other things that you compete in, and like you're competing for yourself. So it does it changes up the perspective on what you're doing and how you're playing. So you guys go through the season and you make it to the end. You play in the EPCs and you play in the districts. And was it the EPCs where you beat Parkland, or was it the districts?
It was district team semifinals where we beat Parkland.
So as a team, in tennis there are two different levels of districts. There's the team, and then there is the individual stuff that comes later. So for the team, this is, they made it to the district finals this year, and they played Liberty, but they beat Parkland going into the finals for the first time in a lot of years. I think that Emmaus beat Parkland. So what was that like, kind of, as you're going through your own individual season, and you talked about the importance of the team for tennis, to beat a team like Parkland kind of in that pressure situation? I
mean, it felt really good, especially because Caleb Brown really clinched the win. Nick clinched the win. I got my win at my position. It was just all the singles guys that got to step up in that situation and just show what we could do. It felt really good, especially because I think Coach had mentioned we were like 1 and maybe 20 something against them, and now we're like 1-0 as of this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it feels really good, especially because they're such a good team going into it. I think they were seeded higher than us at the end of the season. I think we were 3rd seed in the district. So.
Yeah, a little bit. I think they were 2 and you guys were 3. And,
yeah.
And again, like that's one of those, the rivalry that I don't know if they think it's a rivalry, but we kind of have it as a rivalry, but you mentioned Caleb Brown as well too. So another freshman coming out, and he played 3rd singles for most of the year. He didn't start at 3rd singles, but he moved into 3rd singles pretty quickly. So you have 2 freshmen that are occupying 2 of the top 3 spots for the singles players, which is, I don't know if that's common amongst the district teams in the area, but that's pretty uncommon for 2 freshmen to be that high up. So the team had some really good success this year, but obviously we brought you on here because you had some individual success too. So so you made it through to the singles in the singles tournament for districts, and you weren't the number one. You weren't even the number 1 seed off of the high school because your brother was the number 1 seeded player for the team. So explain to people, you kind of think about like as a tournament works, and you have to kind of win to get somewhere. So explain to people how you, as not being the number 1 player on your team, made it through the tournament.
So first day, even before the tournament, Coach told me that Nick was ranked 3rd overall in the district, and I was ranked, I think, 5th, or I was 5th seed in the entire district tournament. And I was a little bit nervous. I knew my first round match, I shouldn't have too much of a problem because I'd be playing a seed that was lower than me. But I knew immediately second round, I'd be playing someone that's seeded higher than me, which I did from Pocono Mountain East. I played Daniel Trott, who was the 4th seed. Like, I knew that would be a tough match, and that was just on the first day. And I was like, all right, if I could pass that match with confidence and just really get a big win, I feel like that momentum would carry me on to the second day, to the semis and finals. And it really did, because I think we had like a 3-hour match. I ended up beating him, super tight score. Going into the second day, I had semis and finals. Semis, I kept that same momentum. And semis and finals, I played 2 kids that I've trained with for so many years. So I kind of knew their game. They kind of knew mine. I was a freshman. I had nothing to lose, so I just played confident.
So I hope you're enjoying today's episode featuring District 11 boys tennis champion Chris Stone. Remember, if you want to check out any other previous episode of the 9th Grade Experience podcast, you can go to 9thgradeexperience.com, or you can search out 9th Grade Experience on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, all those different places to get the most up-to-date content from the 9th Grade Experience. So thanks a lot for joining us. And here is the interview with Chris Stone. That opportunity to go on and play. So one of the interesting things is you almost had a chance to play your brother in what would have been the district final. He made it to the district semifinal, right? And he didn't make it through. So as you're going through the day and you're winning, and then he's kind of playing, like, what was it like? What was your thought process like of thinking like, oh my gosh, I might have to actually play my brother for the district final?
Yeah, it was pretty funny because my dad had even mentioned to us after the first day, like both of us going into the semis, like we have a chance of maybe playing each other in the final. And to be honest, like I really wanted to play him, and he also really wanted to play me in the final. I felt like that would have been like great energy, and just the fact that two Emmaus kids in the finals for districts would have been awesome. But it didn't turn out to happen. But while I was on court, I was just telling myself, all right, I really want to play him in the final, but I just got to focus on my semifinals match. Let me get that over with. Whoever I play in the final, it's a whole different mentality you have to switch for and get ready.
And how, like you talked in the beginning about the competitiveness with your brother, and you kind of turned that off a little bit during the season just because you had to play some doubles. How, like, do you match up often with him? Like, who, if not to put yourself on the spot here, but I am, like, if you two played, like, how would you do?
So that's like a question that like I always get asked even by coaches, and like my dad brings it up a lot. I mean, obviously I got to be confident and say that I think I would win. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I really think it could go either way. Whoever's having a better day, whoever isn't. Just our play styles are so different. I really couldn't tell. We haven't played a match against each other in a really long time. But I don't know. I really think it could go either way. Obviously, I would say myself because I'm confident. But
see, I think that's interesting. You say that you haven't really played, like maybe like an actual like match like that counted. I'm sure you guys train or like work out with each other, but like in a match where it actually counted, that's interesting that you haven't really played each other all that frequently. But it would be like the only one I can think off the top of my head is like the Williams sisters, and how that was a pretty popular rivalry, and the two of them kind of went back and forth. And going forward, we kind of have that potential here for Emmaus, if the things keep shaking out like they do. So you kind of get through the semifinal, you find out your brother's not going to make it, so you're now in the final. And just kind of take us through the mindset. You talked about like not having anything to lose as a freshman. Like we said at the beginning, like we kind of talked about, there was a freshman that did this in 2018, Sean Yeager. He won it in 18 and 19 as an Emmaus district champion. And then you told me that he went on to train in Florida. So, that sets him up pretty nice for, he missed a year because of COVID and then went off to train. So there's a little bit of a precedent here at Emmaus for somebody doing that. So you get to the final, and then, what kind of goes through your head as you're playing that final match? So on the court, I'd say the warm-up, I was super nervous. Like I was kind of shaking. My shots just weren't feeling the best, just because I knew like this like means a lot, and this is like super important, even just for me and also for the team. Like this would be like a really big thing. But I felt like I kind of calmed down when I realized, like I just put in my head, I was like, all right, this is like any other tournament. Like I know what to do. I've been in high pressure situations before. I've been in finals of like tournaments and stuff. I kind of knew. I just had to play hard. I knew the opponent that I was playing against, Gideon. We train all the time together, so I kind of knew his game and kind of knew what to do. So you go through, you win the match, and you win the district championship. So what is it like in the car ride home with you're riding with your brother? Yeah. Obviously he's kind of bummed that he lost in the semifinals. You won. So what is that kind of like, having that brother dynamic where like you're excited for yourself, people in your house are excited for you, but then also your brother is there, and it's kind of like, feeling like, as a junior, like he's been the number one player, like, coming into that, like he thought maybe that would have been his spot, and then here you are kind of riding in and being like, all right, I got this.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of awkward, especially like coming back from the district tournament, like knowing that, he lost in the semis and he had like a really tough match, and then I ended up winning the finals. Like I was super proud of myself, and I knew like, all right, let me try not to be too obnoxious because he's not in the right like state of mind right now. I was like, in a couple of days, I know he'll cool down, but I don't know. It was kind of hard for me not to be happy for myself because, I mean, it was like a really big thing, and I was super happy about it. But only thing I think that it did for Nick is that it just pushes him to work harder next year, and then hopefully we get to a final matchup next year against each other.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, like, so going into next season, like, and obviously it's tough to predict, but like, I would assume a district champion is the number one seeded singles player? Question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what spot I'll be playing next year. If I'm playing first or second singles, still not determined.
Yeah. Does it even really matter?
No, it in terms of district singles, it really doesn't. I mean, it affects your ranking a little bit, but I mean, it really doesn't. it doesn't happen often that a second singles player, I think, wins district singles. But going into the tournament, only thing that affects you is your seeding.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So you get to the state championship or the state playoffs. They were the week of like May 24th, 25th. And you lost your first round matchup.
Yeah.
And so what was the experience like just being at that state level and kind of the whole tournament, atmosphere, and what did you kind of learn from that experience that you can kind of carry over as you continue into next season?
I think so I learned a lot from it, like being at that top stage, and I knew it was like the same mentality going into season. I knew I was one of the youngest kids there. I think it was me and maybe 2 or 3 other freshmen in the entire tournament, and I think out of all of us, I think only one freshman ended up even making it past the first round. I knew some of the other freshmen. I knew even the other sophomores and juniors that were there. And I knew they were all really good. And I just had to show that I belonged. Even though I lost first round, I thought I played decently well. I feel like I could have played better. There's always stuff to work on. But it just brings in the same confidence for next year that I want to be at the same stage again. And I want to get my redemption back sophomore year.
So, I'm obviously more familiar with basketball, but a lot of other sports do like off-season training and AAU and 7-on-7. So tennis is officially done for the school. So what is the rest of like your summer as like a competitive tennis player? What does that look like?
So pretty much training 6 days a week. Sometimes even like we'll train 7 days a week and just try to fit in a rest like half day kind of, if that makes sense. But it's just a lot of training, a bunch of tournaments kind of every other weekend. So like even after states was this past weekend, I have a tournament this Saturday. It just continuous training, trying to get better. I play at Brookside Country Club, so that's where I get a lot of training with private coaches and just with other kids my age. So
you're kind of always on the grind. Like I know the day we're doing this, I know that there's maybe some sort of tennis practice, for the team already. So they're even thinking about that for next year as well too. So, as we kind of wrap up here, like, what advice would you have for a student? So like this is for people in ninth grade or coming into ninth grade, where their focus is like a lot of times when we talk about sports, which I said earlier, it's a lot of like team sports stuff. So like, how do I fit into a team? But like as an individual coming in as a ninth grader, competing in an individual sport, what tips or strategies would you give to that kind of athlete that's coming into an individual sport as a ninth grader? Because you earned your spot. Obviously, you came in and you were able to excel. But like, what would you say to the student that's kind of working to not necessarily take your spot, but take a spot in a sport that's more individualized?
I would say just being calm and also being confident in your play style. If you just know how good you are and you're really confident in yourself and you are happy at what position you're at and you're always working to better yourself, I feel like no matter what, like all your results will show. Like even if, let's say, first day of tryout, like you might be feeling nervous and you're not playing the best, like you can always show the coaches like that you belong there and just to work hard and that you want it more than anybody, because especially some of the older kids, like you kind of see like they know they're already on the team, or like they know like, oh, I'm good enough that I don't really have to try. Like never be afraid to like try your best and to really show that you're the best, you belong where you are, and that you're here. Yeah,
and I think just that level of confidence, I think, is a lot of times, I think that's what separates athletes at a lot of different levels. And like even coming in as a ninth grader, feeling confident, you had your brother here, so you knew the school a little bit, you knew kind of the ropes of all that stuff. And then obviously the confidence in your own performance and tennis as well too. So Chris, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always great to highlight some of the sports that don't get a lot of attention here at the high school, and especially when we have somebody that does great things individually. It's awesome, and it's even better when it's a freshman because it fits the show awesome. So Chris, thanks a lot. It was great watching you this season, and we're excited to see where you go and the tennis goes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Ninth Grade Experience podcast featuring District 11 boys tennis champion Chris Stone. I think it was an interesting interview to get a perspective on a district champion from a freshman level. It's something you don't see every day here at Emmaus High School, and especially in an individual sport. So if you liked what you heard today, tell a friend, suggest the podcast to somebody. That's the easiest way to help the podcast grow. Or you can sign up and subscribe at on Apple Podcast or Spotify or YouTube or anywhere else where you can subscribe and get information, or you can subscribe to our TikTok channel at Ninth Grade Experience. experience as well too. So thanks a lot for joining us today, and we look forward to many more episodes this summer to get us ready for that 9th grade year.